It's July 5th, 2022. I am in this rectangle pattern. Um, I was going through my youngest son's paperwork today that he brought home from school. Now, this school year, they've kept the books, the curriculum, and stuff in the classroom. They really didn't send home much. Um, Slight grabs here and there, although I have been feeling really ill as well. But now it's the end of the year, an entire stack of papers came home. Now, this book came home. It's an official publication of New York City. It says Passport to Social Studies, Student Workbook in NYC Department of Education. So, what are the children learning in New York? Well, let's just say it says Unit 4 is Freedom and the New Nation, Federal, State, and Local Government. And Unit 5, Making the Empire State, Immigration, Industrialization, and Westward Movement. Very specifically, now I'm not an in depth reader, I'm not a speed reader. But I have a firm enough grasp on the pictorial. It says here, from these pictures are from the Historical Society. It says, Welcome to all. But it has very specific what the all means. That is on page 91 in this publication, which came from the Department of Education within New York City. It says, here was the migrational standards of allowable construction for this raised flag and financing restrictions and requirements. Now, it says Irish immigration on page 92. I was there within my life frame because there has been a massive exodus. It would appear in Europe on the televised. Anyway, I see them like people are just moving into places they don't belong. It's quite frightening sitting here in New York. It says document 1 is German immigration. Here's document 2 with some form of European Jewish immigration. But again, the all was already agreed upon by the multifacet and the founders who were funding this campaign then and still have a responsibility. I mean, historically, there has been so many presidents that fall within this categorical presidency and family tradition and ancestry. Here's the Italian immigration. Here's the Swedish immigration. And again, I did not, and it says The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Again, I did not publish this myself. This was, there's 3 profiles. There's John D. Rockefeller, model, with a photo. That's one family member they have an agreement in New York City. Here's Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie. That's profile 2. And here's profile 3, which is John Piermont Morgan. I am not clear about anything else since I haven't met with anybody. They put this together and put it into the public. If I didn't have a son in the school, and all year I had no access to this, didn't even know it existed, which is even more frightening, not knowing how New York is running itself. They have other very specific pages in this agreed upon at some level learning utility that I myself have not had access to until now, which is the day after July 4th. There was very specific in here painting of, and it says, courtesy of the New York Historical Society. And it says, return of the 69th Irish Regiment. And then it has an N.Y.SM from the seat of war. Now, when I turn the nightly news on in New York, the streets, the gun violence, the crime, the whatever, does not match the expectation of the private collector with the painted, what might it look like. So I have record of what my ancestors have invested in and what the expectation was when said investment was first laid for planning. Because at some level, there is an obligation to the forefathers, the ancestors, what monetary investments they've put in, and the expectations that their children are well cared for and respected, which in this day and age I don't feel I've received from, in certain areas I have, but in New York City, let's just say, I don't feel I've gotten the same welcome as a very important ancestor with very important expressed presentation. Long Island, while isolated and alone and kept separate from the rest, at least it wasn't teasing and bothersome, but it was very lonely. And I don't know where the others went. I don't know what they've been doing. And I don't know why they haven't called out. There's a description of the borough flags, which I've been looking for and had no access to until Linda puts this gigantic pile of end-of-the-year things from his book bag on the table. And she's like, if you don't go through it, I'm going to throw it all out. So now I have to look through it. They have they have an Alexander Hamilton, leader of the Federalist Party, it says, on here. So there's some kind of agreement going on, the two different views of Hamilton and Jefferson. Somehow, during the school, it says the leader of the Democratic and Republican Party is Thomas Jefferson. I already know what the whatever is. I cannot show this paper. at the moment. But he is the same as I remember him, and as the same on the green linen. That's not necessarily in big circulation, but it exists on a dollar bill or on a bill. And then there's George Washington's inauguration at Federal Hall in New York City. Based on what I've seen in some publicized community hall, the people inhabiting these positions at the moment, there's a man by the name of Eric Adams. They do not look like the traditional expectation. The traditional expectation of New York, they no longer resemble, even slightly. And they go over 3 branches of government, which again, these are significant pieces. I see that NATO has something going on with Sweden and Finland, which I don't know what that's about, because again, it took me 4 decades and 3 years to get access to this level of simple management guide of what did the ancestors invest in, what did they expect, who were they sending, what are the labels that they're from in this language that they've been promoting here while I've been around and my parents have been around. So now I have documented paintings, and I have documented countrymen for the Federalist and the colonies. And then I look on the big board this evening, and they're speaking in Philadelphia, a state which is in drivable distance within a few hours for security parameters. And they have a person in a uniform, and her name is Outlaw. I'm not kidding. This evening on the big board of Eyewitness News, they put up somebody by the last name of Tyranny and somebody by the last name of Outlaw. Now, I know elsewhere there's Viking names, there's Viking blood. I heard it on the news. I don't have any further information other than a woman saying that it exists. I am here now, and I'm reading the label that Eyewitness News put on this gun violence, and it says Philadelphia Police Commissioner. So not only is it just a uniformed officer, they made the outlaw, they put the outlaw in a uniform, and then they put her on the news, which I'm receiving in private residence. And I'm just like, ay. Then, also this evening, the place where I brought Alexander from Virginia back to New York, that town, which I know how that town was run and what that town's comfortable with, they now have some new people that moved in and put up this presence 3 years ago, and it seems as though they're not exactly having this warm and friendly fuzzy welcome. And they're definitely, these people are definitely not from the agreed upon immigration. This is the Great Migration standard textbook. The men on the news that are claiming hate crimes are not held within these pages. I don't know why they're here. They did not make their announcement. It was not they just arrived, and I don't know why management is having a problem with peaceful exodus. in the opposite direction. It doesn't make sense. Why would somebody purposely want to move into an area that has very specific parameters when somebody doesn't fit into those parameters? I mean, again, it just seems very unpeaceful. It seems very warlike. And it seems like people who don't like to follow the rules. But here we are. This was at 12 o'clock. They informed me what an outlaw looks like. So that's what it says right here. Her name's Danielle M., and she's an outlaw. It says Philadelphia Police Commissioner. I was not asked. I did not vote or elect for that to be so. But it seems that there's a lot of these decisions that I don't know who's been making them. I mean, I'm just here in my one piece that I can try to find and make a document of how am I surviving. Well, at the moment, not well. I found heavy metals in one of the food products, or so the California warning is saying, but I don't have a laboratory that can be trusted or that can send things through to, or even a phone number of where to ask for help. Here's Eyewitness at 4 p.m.
Executed, and we're not going to have any tolerance for it.
District Attorney Ray Tierney are now investigating the vandalism as a hate crime.
It's an isolated incident, and we're going to prosecute it, and we're...
Okay, so now this man's name is Ray Tierney. So I found what tyranny looks like, because I've heard the adults say it. I know on the map it's spelled differently on the globe for the Terrarian Sea or Tyrian Sea off the coast of Italy. But this actually has a face to the name, and he's an official for Suffolk County District Attorney. That's what it looks like. That's what he looks like.
And we're not going to have any tolerance for it.
Disgusting.
Now let's go back for the whole story real quick, because again, this is an area I lived, and there was none of these people there when I lived there. And now all of a sudden I was forced out because I couldn't afford the house. And now all of a sudden they've got some new population moving in. But again, here's city limits. Queens is in here, as is Brooklyn is in here, Bronx, all the boroughs are in here. And this is happening on Long Island, which is attached to Queens and Brooklyn as far as boroughs go at the moment, as is Nassau.
Michelle and Liz, that vandalism happened yesterday.
Now, are these isolated incidents for the rest of the country and the rest of the state system? I don't know. I don't have access to other states other than the ones that I've gone to visit. When we went through Delaware and when we went through Maryland, they seemed to have a very heavy population that looked pretty congruent to that. But again, systemically, this seems to be a northeast coast occurrence. I don't know if it's spread to the west. I don't know if it's in the Midwest. I'm not quite sure. But it is frightening on the amount of volumes and on the actual physical treatment of my person and my children while I've been here.
On the 4th of July, in this country, which often celebrates diversity, instead an explosion at this sacred...
Right, see, here's the thing. When they speak diversity, like, according to the manual I was given by New York City, which has a very non-conforming, let's say, mayor at the moment, it definitely says the diversity in the historical context of management meetings and things. It has a very distinct look to it. Again, I see the diversity being somewhere between like a Swedish, an Irish, a German, Italian. I mean, or Jewish. I mean, that's what was in the book. So it frightens me when they get so on a soapbox for I don't know what purpose and start spouting all this free speech, but it tends to confuse and then prolong and then make further issues. I don't know why it's being handled this way.
Sacred symbol outside of this Muslim house of worship.
Over a sudden, I hear the explosion. There's no tomorrow. So very, very loud.
Imam Ahmed Ibrahim was sitting inside a mosque in Ronkan.
Now, I've met the Ronkonkoma natives before this 3-year-old piece of artwork was created and put itself in the middle of a very quiet, very friendly to some neighborhood. I'm not going one way or the other with any of this. I'm just, at this moment, this does not seem to be a peaceful action for moving oneself and opening this kind of facility inside a very known area to have very little tolerance. It's like all these agitators. They just keep spreading seed money and making a real mess of the population, of the schools, of the foundations, and then claiming that they're all so peaceful and innocent. And who's to say the founders, the builders, the masons? I mean, there has to have been something that went on before they actually moved in and decided to go through with this. I don't know why they keep pursuing these actions against innocent people that don't know what that they're up to some kind of other agenda, since it's not published, let's say, like as maybe in other territory, which is just fueling the problem.
Called Masjid Fatima Al-Zahra after prayer service when witnesses say 2 men walked up.
All right, so now there was a duff field that my son went to. My one son. There were Halloween parades. There were family baseball games, or at least there was baseball sign up. There was Boy Scouts. There was a state park there that was really, really tranquil and beautiful. MacArthur Airport. It was right on Veterans Memorial Highway. It was right near this place called Nichols, which I found out from this publication as well. Nichols, also family name, happens to be one of the larger whatevers in whatever of very significant importance to historically secure and certain. So again, with it being in such a crucial location and it having a very specific whatever, I'll let the rest of the story play out. But again, it's like this problem moved in 3 years ago. I got forced out of Ronkonkoma by I don't know what, again, in around 2015-16, somewhere around there. Maybe even 2017. I think Felix the cat has the, he's, whatever, and whatever.
Walked up a hill from their vehicle and through what Suffolk County police believe to be similar to a Molotov cocktail.
I found the crescent in a flame, a big flame.
This now charred crescent moon is a sacred symbol equivalent to the cross for Christmas or the Star of David in the Jewish religion.
I mean, it's so sad. It is so sad.
The mosque opened in this neighborhood 3 years ago. Religious leaders put up the crescent moon less than 3 months ago in April in celebration of Ramadan.
3 years ago. Now, I have a very specific photo, a very specific child. And there was a very specific photo taken. And then there was a meal eaten as I had a miscarriage in Roosevelt Field. Things we don't talk about. But a lot of stuff's been going on. And I don't know who's trying to hurt me. I don't. I mean, it's been a long process. And there's been a whole lot of stuff that went on. There are great people here. But there's also, I would assume, fright at some level as well. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.